Okay, we are now recording. So, hello, welcome. I have some questions in front of me. If any of you have others, please feel free to share them by typing them in on the chat facility. Questions that have been sent in to me so far. The first one is, what is NLP and where did it come from? Considering this is actually an NLP open frame session initially intended for people who practiced NLP, and we seem to be attracting a number of people who have no prior experience within NLP. Let me just give you some background. NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, really goes back to about the early 1970s, when a couple of guys by the name of Richard Bandler and John Grinder got together. And their initial goal really was to create what they called a super effective therapy process. And they started out by modeling a number of top therapists. Now, John Grinder specialized in language linguistics. Richard Bandler was a mathematician, and so was used to creating mathematical models, and also a professional musician, interestingly enough. What they did was they studied people like Milton Erickson, who was the father of hypnotherapy, Fritz Perls from the world of Gestalt, Virginia Satir, who is or was a very successful family therapist. And they began to study their values, their beliefs, their strategies, their language patterns, their behaviors, and their techniques. And what they did was they took all of these things from a number of people, put them together, and then they sat down and decided, what are we going to call this? And the name really grew out of the concept that what you're dealing with is the neurology of the human being, because all of our behavior is thought-based and therefore is driven by our neurology. Linguistics, because of the language patterns that we use both interpersonally and intrapersonally, so the way we communicate with others and with ourselves, it gives us great clues. And the programming, of course, comes from the simple fact that we are programmed by ourselves and others from the moment we are born. So we have this whole ability to, if we choose to, explore our own programs and create new ones. Hence the name neuro-linguistic programming. Since those days, it has really grown phenomenally in that we have now many, many people around the world, probably millions who've studied NLP, a great number of top trainers and master trainers, and it's become a kind of a personal development process in its own right. So a lot of people will go along to an NLP program. They will make some startling changes in their life if they choose to. And some people continue that journey ongoing. When I first came across NLP 20 years ago, and I've been studying, researching, teaching, and working with NLP ever since. It has also applications in the business world, because if you go along to any of the really good leadership development programs, sales programs, negotiating, communication skills, etc., you will find elements from the world of NLP in there. So tremendously beneficial, a lot of great uses. So that's where it came from. My experience with it, as I say, has been around 20 years now. I started off in my corporate days going along to a 2-day sales program, initially because I wanted to find out if the program was any good in order to send my sales team. Excuse me. And I was blown away. I was absolutely stunned by some of the concepts that they were teaching and the ideas and the techniques that they were showing us. I got chatting to the 2 trainers involved afterwards and asked them what it was based on. And I was told, oh, it's NLP. And of course, I had no idea what NLP was. So off I went, did some research, sent my sales team on the program. Hi, Rishi. And their performance went through the roof. Not only were they increasing the sales, but they were increasing the profits. And that is, of course, even more important. I then began studying it myself. I went off to a 4-day program. The 4-day program led to a 16-day program at practitioner level. And then I went to a master practitioner. And after working at master practitioner level and stepping out of my corporate career, I began teaching NLP. And 9 years ago now, just over 9 years ago now, I was honoured to be certified as a master trainer. And so nowadays I spend some of my time traveling to very interesting parts of the world. One of my favourites being India, where I train trainers and master practitioners, and I'm currently also mentoring some master trainers. So that's kind of my experience with NLP. One of the questions I've got that somebody has sent in is NLP just for use in therapy? And the answer is no, absolutely not. The thing is that a lot of people talk about using NLP. Well, actually, my perspective on NLP is it's more about looking at a perspective and an attitude towards things, and then having that drive the way that you interact with yourself and with other people. Now, I find it very useful in the way that I work as a coach, whether it be one-to-one or with groups, because of the relationship building skills, the communication skills, and of course the ability to use language to understand other people's model of the world, to explore where that model is driven from, and then to help them, if they want to make changes in it. So it's very useful in coaching. In the world of negotiating, I found it invaluable. I train negotiators at a fairly high level. I have a book. In fact, I reach behind me. There it is. The book is called Countermove. You're seeing it backwards because the magic of Zoom. The book is called Countermove. It's a guide to the art of negotiating, and it is based on NLP, because there is so much in there that is really useful in the business world. So the answer is very much a no. NLP is not just for use in the world of therapy. It's great in the world of business. It's great in the world of training. Some of the very best trainers that I have met around the world are NLP trained. And I would venture to suggest that any professional trainer who really wants to sharpen their skill set should get themselves along to a good NLP program, either at practitioner and master practitioner level or at trainer level, and absorb the skills and the techniques that you can use in order to help other people learn. Because for me, training is not just about pushing information into people. It's about inspiring them to learn. It's about motivating them to find out. It's about helping them to want to understand. And using your NLP skills can help you to do just that. In the world of even, I think, parenting, for example, my good friend in India, David Lincoln, Dr. David, I think some of you must know David. He actually runs effective parenting classes, which are based around NLP, and they are very much around building and understanding value sets in families, around communication, around understanding the behaviour in children, and helping children understand the behaviour in each other as well. So effective families and effective parenting is another very powerful aspect. So those are some of the questions that I have had sent in to me. Let's find out if anybody out there has any. Please do not just sit and look at me. If you have a question, please feel free to ask, because it is an open frame. This is not for you to sit and look at me. This is for you to ask your questions, and then I can answer them for you. I see we've got a lot of people on here. Okay, please fire away with your questions. That's the purpose of this session. Rishi, when I'm using NLP in negotiating, am I not being selfish? Good question. Now, there are two answers to this. Rishi. The first is that at a base level, all human beings are actually selfish. Our unconscious mind is programmed to look after us. We will, in general, look after number one, whether we like to or not. In terms of negotiation, that's going to come down to your ethical framework, the way that you want to use it. The question I often get asked is NLP manipulative? And the answer to that is yes, NLP is manipulative. Coaching is manipulative. Psychotherapy is manipulative. Counseling is manipulative. Psychology is manipulative. All of the talking skills are manipulative. The question is, are you manipulating for good or otherwise? The key to using NLP in negotiating is this: to establish a mutual starting point and to finish with a mutual agreement. In other words, one that works for both of you. As I often like to say, if it's not win-win, it will end up as you lose. Because if you manipulate the other people, you will end up with them not wanting to do business with you again. So I hope that answers your question. You're going to give me a thumbs up if that answers your question. Yeah, great. He's giving me a thumbs up. Okay, Ritu, to everyone, how can you start? How can you start? Are you asking how can you start the NLP journey? The answer to that is, if you want details of where you can learn NLP, either you can Google it, or you can send me an email to ralph@ralphwatson.com. That's ralph@ralphwatson.com, and I'll be happy to help. I'll be happy to point you in the right direction. Janet, hi Janet, nice to see you here. How can we source a good NLP course? That's the answer. Come and talk to me. If you're a sales trainer, excellent, because that's where I started. I started running sales training programs utilizing my NLP. So if you wish, when we get away from this session, why not send me an email, ralph@ralphwatson.com, or you can inbox me, because I think we're connected on Facebook, and we'll have a conversation and I can help you get started on that. Certainly help you find a good course. Okay, Ritu, how can I start using these techniques? Some quick wins to focus on. Okay, can I ask you please to be a little bit more specific? When you say quick wins in what area of your life are you looking for, Ritu? If you can answer me that question. This is so much fun, isn't it? There's so many of you on here. I can see a whole big long list of folks. And the questions are coming at me thick and fast. It's a bit like doing a press conference here. I never know what the questions are going to be. Okay, for example, sensory acuity. Okay, for those of you who are not totally au fait with NLP, sensory acuity is what I call the art of noticing what you notice. In other words, sharpening your observation skills so that you become acutely aware of what's going on. Now, the only way to really sharpen your sensory acuity is this: practice. And that means practicing your visual observation, practicing and sharpening your listening skills, and practicing and sharpening your, what I call the sixth sense, which is that that inner feeling that tells you when something is right or not quite right. Somebody is drilling somewhere in the building, so this is going to be fun. Practice, practice, practice. And if you go out there and attempt to do them all at the same time, you will go mad. So what I usually suggest to my students is this. On any given day, just set yourself a goal, because goals are great. You might say to yourself, okay, today I'm going to really focus in on my listening skills. So I'm going to really practice the art of listening. Another day, you might say to yourself, okay, today I'm going to take some time to sharpen my visual observation. And you get out there and you start really noticing what you're seeing, noticing what's happening in the world. So I hope that helps. One here from Paul says, Ralph, I'm doing my first practitioner program next week. Any quick advice? Yeah, Paul, trust yourself, trust in the process, my friend. I trained you. I know that you can do a phenomenal job. So you just have faith in yourself. I've got faith in you. You're going to go out there and you're going to knock them dead. I know you are. Another question here. There's a lot of chatter about new code NLP. What is it and what are your views on it? Okay, I can tell you the story as I know it, which is that the NLP that was originally created by Bandler and Grinder, when these two guys fell out and went their separate ways, John Grinder created new code NLP in order to have a distinction from the work that Richard Bandler was doing. And as far as I'm aware, new code NLP is the NLP that we know and love with an extra emphasis on the kinesthetics. In other words, on the emotional elements of the NLP itself. So for me, it's about choice. It's about, do you want to go down the systemic NLP route, which is the one that I know and love and have adapted. You know, if you come to my NLP programs, not the same as many others. Then there's what John Grinder calls new code NLP, which frankly is what many of us are already teaching. It's just that he's given it the label of new code NLP. So I hope that helps. I think what's happening, particularly in places like India, where NLP is growing, is that people are trying to, and I emphasize trying to, differentiate themselves. So they're saying, oh, we don't teach NLP, we teach new code NLP. And then you'll get other people who say, oh, we teach, what's the other one I saw? Quantum NLP. And somebody else is teaching Zen NLP. So really, some of this is down to people seeking to differentiate. So I hope that that helps you with that question. Okay, anyone else got a question for me? They're coming in thick and fast. Jazz, hi Jazz. How can you use NLP in the social realm? Are you talking about social media? Just give me a quick yes, no. Give me a clue. Yes. Okay. Social media. Well, social media is a great example of where you can use NLP, and I do, because first of all, one of the great elements of social media is visual. So the use of video, the use of imagery, the use of color is great. And if you select the way that you do your video, you select the imagery, you select the coloring in such a way that it creates moods and creates kinesthetics, that's brilliant. It also revolves around language, because you are creating text. So the language structure that you use is very important. And the language that you use in any of your things like Facebook Live, things like this, Zoom, notice the language that you use and structure your language patterns in such a way that they will be useful and helpful to you. So I hope that helps. And Jazz, let's, if you want to, we can get together and talk about that some more. I'd love to meet up. You can talk to me about social media. I'll talk to you about NLP. Kruti says, hi Ralph, while doing parts integration, how is it advisable for doing chunking down? Chunking down is interesting. Now, okay, for those of you who may be newish to NLP, parts integration is where you deal with internal conflict by taking two parts of the unconscious mind. One would be about the behavior and the other one might be about the conflicting behavior, and literally seeking to bring them together by having them negotiate, by having them understand that they are both parts of the one whole. Chunking down is interesting because the basic element of parts integration is to chunk up, because with each of those parts, on the one hand I do this, but on the other hand I want to do that. Each of those parts, you're seeking to establish purpose. So in seeking purpose, you are chunking up. Now, if you want to chunk down, that's about finding the higher purpose, and then you can seek to chunk that down as to how that might drive a new behavior. Now, that's less a parts integration and starts to trip you over into the world of core transformation. For those of you who've done a master practitioner program and haven't done anything on core transformation, then maybe that's something for us to look at and explore at a later date. So hope that helps. Jazz says, thanks Ralph, and yes, let's get together sometime. Great. Coffee and natter, as we say over here. Okay, who's got another question? Majid, it says, I don't know why, but I can't hear anything. Tried reloading to no avail. I'd have to say, if you are doing this from your phone rather than online, then I think you have to enable the audio facility. That's something that I'm not entirely familiar with. So, Majid, you're going to have to watch the video. So that, okay, great. Kruti says, thanks. Okay, who else has got a question for me? Keep them coming. I'm having so much fun here. I hope you are. Okay. If from phone, use the Zoom app. I am and hear fine. Okay, thanks, Jazz. So, Majid, if you're still watching this, if you're watching from the phone, use the Zoom app. Okay, apparently that's the one to have. So I'm going to have to download that onto my phone so I can have a play with that one as well. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. I'm not seeing any more questions coming up here at the moment. Let me just scroll back up in case I've missed any. Nope, I think we have all of them so far. Okay, does anybody else have a question for me? Okay, let me give you a little bit of news.
I did, sir. I did one.
Ah, somebody has got a voice running. Rishi.
Yes, sir.
Please talk to me.
The connection between law of attraction and NLP.
The connection between law of attraction and NLP. That's an interesting question. Law of attraction revolves around, I think in essence, what you focus on is what's going to happen. Okay? NLP really is about, if you can take that to the nth degree. If you think about the world of NLP, where we start, the four key principles are, first of all, to be outcome focused. So start by knowing exactly what it is that you want to achieve. Now, once you have an outcome and you have checked that outcome thoroughly, because you know that old saying, beware what you wish for because you just might get it. Check that outcome through to make sure it is exactly what you want and that you understand the possible consequences to yourself and others of achieving it. And then you focus on that outcome. Now, by focusing on that outcome, that will drive your behavior. And if your behavior is outcome focused and outcome driven, then you are more likely to attract that which is going to be beneficial to you. Because the problem with a lot of people is they set themselves a goal, their behavior is not congruent with that goal. So what they do is they say, oh, this is what I want, but it could be that they have some limiting beliefs that are holding them back from going for it. It could be that it's not congruent with their value set. It could be that they allow themselves to be sidetracked off of that focus on achieving it. So the connection between NLP and law of attraction is, and this is only my model of the world, is that by being outcome focused and by being congruent with that outcome and making your behavior congruent, you are far more likely to attract the resources that you need in order to achieve that outcome. Does that make sense, Rishi?
Yes, it does, sir. Thank you so much. And one thing I'd like to ask you, is it not like we are creating a map in our mind that this is how we have to reach the goal? And the law of attraction says there has to be no how. How is not your job. But the NLP says you find out how it has to be done and then move towards your focused goal or outcome.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because that's what I guess that's where we get the kind of two thought sets there, the two mindsets. The model of the world in NLP is that you have a goal, you have a focus, and you take action towards achieving it.
Yeah.
The model of the world in the law of attraction is very much about you focus on what you want and it will come to you.
Yeah.
Now, I'd have to say that I haven't yet met anybody who focused entirely on what they wanted and it came to them. What tends to happen is you focus entirely on what you want, and at some unconscious level, it is going to affect behavior because any thinking is going to drive a behavior. So I think you may tell yourself that I am focused on my outcome and that therefore it will come to me. Actually, what's happening is probably drawing you to make the moves towards it.
Yeah. So what do you have to say about The Secret, sir? Rhonda Byrne.
Great book. I've got one somewhere in one of my bookcases. I read all these things, and what I do with all of them is I take from them the things that I'm going to find really useful, like the concepts, like the principles, like the philosophy, and then I blend it with other things. So my secret is to use The Secret as a part of something else.
Okay? Yeah, but what about that small question or whatever statement they put that how is not your job? That's the job of the universe. That's a small thing that they've been using since quite a long time.
Well, my only answer to that would be my grandmother used to say to me, God helps him who helps himself.
Yeah.
So sometimes you've got to do that. Okay, I'm just going to move on a little bit, if I may. Janet has put in a question here. You mentioned that NLP can be manipulative. However, surely that can be a channel for good. For example, if you are selling to clients and it helps them make a good decision, then you might have manipulated them, but the outcome is to their advantage. What are your views on this? What a brilliant question, Janet. You've hit the nail right on the head with a sledgehammer. In my map of the world, manipulation that's what we do. Everybody is manipulative. That's what we do. It comes down to intent. In the world of sales, if you help somebody to make a decision, a good decision, the question is this: who measures whether it's a good decision or not? Are you measuring it, or are they measuring it? If they, at the end of that process, say, thank you very much, I feel I've made a really good decision there. This product or this service is exactly what I need. Thank you very much. In essence, what you've done is to become a decision counselor. Then then that to me, that is what I call positive influence rather than negative manipulation. And yeah, I mean, one of the things that I hammered into my sales team in my last corporate role as a sales director was exactly that you are there for the benefit of the customer, and you always work for the benefit of the customer. And that is why our sales went through the roof and our profit margins went through the roof, because we were then focused on doing the right thing and not just doing anything in order to get the business. So I think you're right. I think influencing is a powerful skill set. It should be used to achieve things for your client, for your customer, for your service user, whatever phrase you want to use. So I hope that helps. Jaldeep says, what is the youngest age to start learning NLP for my children? That's a great question. Now, I would say in terms of formal training, I generally don't take people onto an NLP program below the age of 16. There's no reason why you should not begin at a very early age helping your children to understand other people's model of the world, to build positive relationships, to use clean language processes, to think positively, to set goals for themselves, to behave in a certain way. Help them to build a belief set and a value set which is good for them as human beings, good for them as valued members of the family and members of the community. So formal teaching of NLP can come a little bit later, but hey, NLP is a way of life. It's not just a set of books. It's not just a classroom program. Certainly, you know, I have 4 grandchildren, the oldest of which is 14, and the youngest of which, Kenley, is 5. And I work with them all the time. You know, I work with them all the time. Cameron, who's the oldest, if he's out for a meal with me, we sit and talk about NLP. And Kenley, the youngest one, well, I just work with him in terms of building relationships with his friends, with his classmates, with his sister and his brother and everyone around him. That's NLP. That's NLP. So I hope that helps you. Okay. Just going to check, quick time check. Okay, we are about to run out of time. So all I'm going to say is the following: www.ralphwatson.com, my website, ralph@ralphwatson.com if you would like to email me. If you have a question, I will always answer your questions. Janet, let's have a conversation away from here about NLP training. If any of you want to know about who to go to or where to go for some NLP training, then please do. And I've been under a lot of pressure since I've been doing less travel to set up some programs here. So I'm going to be doing that. And my programs will be appearing on my website very soon. So all remains for me to say is thank you so much for being here. I'm honoured that you've all turned up to talk with me and listen to me. I do hope it proved very useful to you. Paul, thank you for the feedback. I respect you too, my friend. Thank you for being here. This session will go out on video for you to download and watch at your leisure. There will be another one in a few weeks' time, and I will be publicising that soon. So have a great afternoon. Have a great evening. Thank you all very much.
Thank you so